this meeting. We do our roll call.
Oh, what, I'm sorry.
We'll start with you, Dick.
Hello, Dick Bennett.
Here we go.
David Campbell.
Phil Perry.
Roger.
Jane now?
Bob Thompson.
And Sarah's not back online yet. Until Sarah gets back online, you will be a voting member.
I'm certainly here.
So the first thing we have order of business is to review the notes from August 14th. Do I have any changes that need to be addressed? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a move and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Do we have a separate printed agenda for tonight? Okay. Seeing that we have no public, there will be no public comment unless anybody would like to make a public comment as a non-board member comment.
I just had a question on some of what went on in the last meeting. I don't know if that's a public comment or where that fits.
Sure, go for it.
In the discussion about the septic requirements and potentially the document of the state versus the SSS and whatever it is. You know, the point in the minutes is made that one's a little bit more protective than the other. What I didn't see in the minutes was a discussion that we have a 4-bedroom requirement for any subdivision, even if many homes don't have 4 bedrooms. And a very high percentage of Jackson homes are second homes and used very, not full-time, and in many cases much less than half-time. And so it would seem to me that in terms of protecting our resources, certainly critical, that there's margin to play with given the nature of homes in Jackson. I didn't get a sense of any conclusion from that discussion in the minutes.
I don't think you got a sense of that because I don't think there was discussion on those areas at all, so.
So I'm just wondering whether there's interest in continuing that discussion.
Yeah, I think Burr was pretty clear that the amount of flexibility we have is fairly limited because of state requirements, not because of anything that we might have. And I think as the notes suggest, there are trade-offs between the one that the state uses and the one that we use. And to your point, he did suggest that we might want to consider for certain developments that we use the state versus the town, and that if we wanted to think about doing that in order to help improve density, that might be a consideration for the planning board. that's
I
a
saw
limit
that.
of my understanding and of what I think I heard.
Yeah, and I think he made the point that in a cluster development, and I don't know what his reasoning was, but that there's less load typically per unit in a
Mhm.
cluster development maybe. But yeah, I just, I thought it also was pertinent that we have so many second homes that are not used a large portion of the year.
Yeah, and that we can't get away with.
No, but in terms of adopting the state requirements versus the other requirements, you know, if we can adopt those
Yeah.
state requirements for certain types of development, then I would guess that we could adopt them for all types of development.
Hmm.
The only issue is if we go down the mindset of that because they're second homes, but yet our goal as a community is to not to have those as second homes, but to have them as primary people living in this community, the long run, that would apply. I mean,
Right,
I
I
think
think Jackson will always have a large percentage of second homes. It's always been that way. It's the nature of the town. And the fact that we also require 4-bedroom septic, whether your house is 1, 2, or 3-bedroom. And I don't know what the percentages are, less than 4 bedrooms. And just,
Oh, I didn't read that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
what,
That you have to have a 4-bedroom septic no matter what?
that's what our zoning ordinance says.
Really?
Page 12. Lot size, page 13. Just read it a second ago.
I've never interpreted it that way, so that's why I'm asking you.
So 6.1.3, except as modified by 6.1.5. For cluster. So. In 6.1.3, except as modified by 6.1.5, the minimum lot size for all subdivisions shall meet the area requirements specified for a 4-bedroom dwelling in the minimum lot size. 6.1.5 is cluster. So it looks like in cluster we do allow less than 4-bedroom,
Right.
but outside of cluster, as I read it,
a single-family dwelling use doesn't.
It doesn't say your septic has to be 4, it says the area has to be satisfactory for a 4-bed.
right, but that in terms of lot size and density, that's, you know, it's the size of the lot that really is pertinent.
And there you go. That gets rid of the 2-acre lot size, which previously a 2-acre
Right.
would have allowed, it would be the area that would be normally allowed for like eight bedrooms.
I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we used to
So
have
it's-
2-acre and that was, I think,
It seems that the planning board at the time,
this predates me, I think.
no, it does not.
It was-
You were on the board when this was passed. I just about got on the board when this got passed.
No, we haven't had 2-acre.
Yeah, it broke in 2016. This is adjusted, yeah. It's effective 3/14/2017, sorry. And this was done, this was just when I.
Well, it was amended then.
Yeah.
But does that mean
It
that's
was
when that was?
87, 1987 is when it was
No, the previous deal, this kind of thing was introduced.
in
You
87.
know, the lot size prior to this was 2 acres. It was
Before
a straight
87.
flat 2 acres.
Before 87.
Yeah.
No, prior, 2014, it was 215. It was-
3/10/1987 is when.
Yes, that's when it started with 2 acres requirement. yeah.
No.
No.
No, Sarah knows. Sarah, tell us.
1987 was when we switched from 2 acres to lot size by soil type.
All right. And the current test of, and 2017 was to adopt the SSSNNE Special Publication Number 3, version 4.0.
Right.
Which changed from whatever the previous arithmetic was.
Right, they updated the publication.
All right. So, and then, so the question is, from Scott, why is the minimum lot size for all subdivisions must meet the area requirements specified for a 4-bedroom dwelling?
Except 515. All right, so, right. So what 6.1.5 is saying is that if you have a unit that is only 1 or 2 bedrooms, you don't need to have the size necessary for a 4-bedroom. And so it's just that fraction. And if you look at the minimum lot size for 4 bedrooms, then it is the lot size from the soil map multiplied by 1. So-
Right, but that's just for a cluster development, right? Cluster or multifamily.
Okay, yeah, or multifamily residential.
What is a cluster single-family development? That it leads with? I don't understand the difference,
Uh,
so.
Cluster single-family development would be a bunch of houses that are single-family each house.
Like a homeowners
Multifamily
association?
residential development would be like a condo. Condo
So
development.
each would be a separate housing unit.
Like a
Opposed to-
homeowners
instead of a
association?
No, instead of a duplex.
Right.
I think it's poorly worded.
Oh, okay, so.
One is individual homes, the other's, is attached and detached, I think, as I read it.
Kind of like what's in Wentworth,
Right.
right, where you have the 3.
So,
But doing single family, multifamily just makes it confusing, just attached and detached. That's where it gets to.
So the Wentworth condos are,
Multifamily residential.
okay, and so what is an example of the cluster single-family development
Do we have any?
in town?
And Peterson's, the landing,
Yeah, those 3 houses,
Oh, okay,
there's 4.
those are 4 in there.
but it does, not like a homeowners association, like Eaglebrook, that's not
I
a
think that
cluster,
would, yeah.
single-family?
Any-
Okay.
I don't think Eaglebrook is a cluster.
Or it wouldn't be.
Yeah, Eaglebrook is,
Yeah.
that's true.
Is Eaglebrook a cluster single-family development, Sarah?
Yeah, I would think so, yes.
Okay,
I would think Mirror Lake would be, for sure.
okay, all right, that helps me visualize.
Mirror Lake for
Words
sure,
mean.
I'm not sure about Eagle Brook or not, when it was approved.
Gotcha.
Black Mountain is, I've never been in there.
Those are condominium units that are attached, that have,
So,
they're at least duplexes. aren't
yeah,
they?
so those would
But
be,
your question still stands.
so those would be.
Right, I think we have a very conservative approach to how we, in our requirements for lot size.
And we allow it for cluster, but not for single family, period. And how much different would that be? I mean, you end up having significant,
Now,
0.6,
now I'm not sure if, so Nicosito did some design work for the property that we have available. And according to Nick, if you followed the DEA standards, you could do like 6 or 7 units. If we followed the current Jackson standards, it was going to be 5 units. So maybe a difference of 20%. Now I'm wondering, did Nick notice because we're talking about a cluster development, did he notice what's offered for a cluster development?
Right.
So I don't know that. But it's just, in terms of, really the only 2 things that Jackson can do to increase density, for what that's worth, I'm sure, is frontage requirements. And to some degree septic frontage, we could change density quite a bit more with frontage. But adopting DEA septic versus the other one does give some margin of potential increased density. And I don't think it, given that it's still, the DEA one is still approved by the DA, given that we require 4 bedrooms for non-cluster, and given that, what was the other one, that we have so many second homes, I don't think we're risking our water
Yeah.
by allowing that marginal increase in density.
Yeah, the other piece that we have is that we have reduced frontage on the affordable housing. We don't have 200, we have, I think, 150.
125.
125, excuse me, so that significantly drops that as a requirement, and I would expect that that would be something that would override some of this relative to,
I had hoped that people would take advantage of it. I mean, so far, no one's.
yeah, I mean, 200 footage, if you have a square lot, it's an acre. 40,000 square feet's an acre, so it's and an acre is gonna be plenty for 4 bedrooms, even here in Jackson.
So is your issue,
So it probably, the septic requirement probably makes more of a difference for cluster. And frankly, I didn't even notice that we had, we allowed more for cluster. Frontage would, like, as you said, if you have 200 by 200, you already have an acre, and that's gonna provide.
Yeah.
So in terms of increasing density, reducing frontage would be, for non-cluster type development, that would be a much bigger factor. And it's just because we have a lot of lots that have very little frontage, but there's a lot more than 200 feet of
Right.
left behind that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we just, the fact of the matter is we have almost 0 development of any kind going on in Jackson. And so
Besides that, yeah.
the opportunity to add density by allowing, less frontage, even if it weren't pinned to affordable housing, probably isn't gonna change the needle much, because we just don't have anyone subdividing really, let alone any development. Yeah, I just was curious where that.
but I didn't get a sense that Burr made any suggestions of which way to go. He really kind of left it to us to make that decision.
he wasn't trying to steer us.
No,
Yeah.
he was
Just
not.
trying to take a fire response.
So I think the bottom line on that is if the housing commission comes up with some better ideas about how we might modify this, that we should consider them and put it before.
Yeah, that's really just what I was looking at, shouldn't you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and for me, a lot of it is very cerebral. I don't really understand what it means physically.
And that's really one of the bigger problems with our zoning and what came up at the outreach event is that it is really confusing for people to get their heads around what they can or can't do, just by reading our ordinance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, if you really look closely, the math isn't that difficult, but the fact that you don't know what kind of soils you have, at least specifically, without going to some expense, and then getting through the math and that's what came up quite a bit. I think people feel we're more restricted than we actually are, just because of the difficulty of understanding.
And I know the state of New Hampshire does have a survey of soils
Right.
that are available,
And you can,
and it's really detailed.
right, you can reference that.
And you can reference that. And I think the other part of that is if you're gonna be doing a development, I think, I do believe that zoning ordinances tend to favor the idea of professional staff being involved in your process, which means you have to spend money.
Right, but having a fair idea of what the potential is before you spend the money, I think
Yeah.
is reasonable.
Yeah.
We did used to list the soils, or at least the soil types and what they meant to math. You had to go find a soil map to see what was on your property. It's more difficult now because we don't have that information.
Yeah, but it's really, Google's really good at providing the data.
Providing a lot of different data, yes.
And if you do an AI search on some of this, you can get it done pretty nicely.
Except that it's absolutely wrong.
So, we're good, yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, you really should
Yeah,
not be
yeah,
trusting
it's
AI because sometimes it will just accomplish something.
So-
It might steer you the wrong way.
So
It-
613.
Eventually, it will.
So 613, your issue is,
I thought of that as more the blanket ordinance. Now I'm sort of realizing that we do allow, we're not as stringent for a cluster development. And most of, at least what the housing commission is going to probably fall under a cluster development type.
right, but the young lady that was here last month, her issue with this is that she had a single out,
Mhm.
that it didn't allow her to build what she wanted because she didn't have enough acreage. So she is impacted by 1.3 in the sense that it would be a 4, it has to have a 4, and she doesn't have 4 bedrooms. She was doing 3.
Yeah, but she's still allowed to build. And really that affected her septic.
Right.
And the septic approval was based on state requirements, not on town requirements.
Well, it's.
Lot size is one thing, septic requirements we don't have anything to say on that.
Right.
And her issue was with the state requiring that she didn't have the ability to have the size of septic system that she wanted because she didn't have a place to install it. So that's a whole different animal. If you don't have a place for your fields adequate to accommodate the number of bedrooms that you want.
And unfortunately, while the state does accept some innovative technology, septic technology, it does not impact the restrictions.
And that's the other
So
conversation.
even if.
That was the other conversation.
So
we
even
had,
if you
yeah.
can show this septic system is
Yeah.
going to take care of it just
Yeah.
fine, even if I have 8 bedrooms and half the land,
Yep,
the state will say, great, you can put in that septic system, but you still need
which makes
twice the bedrooms and twice.
no sense at all. I was on the Conservation Commission in Connecticut.
I've been there.
40 years ago, maybe, and in Connecticut, the Conservation Commission basically does the reviews for septic, and you have the right, they're the Wetlands Commission, they do the whole 9 yards, and so any building permit for a new build comes through Conservation Commission, so we had that role, and it was a legal role. You know, you basically, if you didn't get an approval, everything stopped. And there was no state board or any other thing, it was local. But the requirements on septic, if you could have a tank for crying out loud as long as you emptied the tank on a regular basis and the fields were the size of this table, you know, and it worked, then you get approved.
Mhm. But at our outreach event, someone made the point that in a large part of Europe, it's a lot steeper, a lot rockier, and
Yeah.
they seem to handle it fine.
I mean,
A lot
they
more
had things
density.
like, they had things that looked like waffles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Bert was saying, I mean, there's
Yeah.
technology out there to limit that, but it's New
It
Hampshire's.
doesn't help because the state won't recognize it in
Right.
terms of allowing you.
So the right answer is that we need to, if you, from a housing perspective, and there's a whole group of people who are very much looking to increase density, is that somebody needs to figure out what it is that would make it more
Yep.
feasible, and then go to the state and get a House bill or a Senate bill that would help.
Yeah. Okay. So we actually, you made it as public comment, but really that was the number 3 on our discussion of ordinance.
Yes.
Updating the discussion on the lot size soil testing method.
All right, so getting back to our agenda. First off, Sarah, you're here, welcome. I'm recognizing Sarah as a sitting member and a voting member. Shane,
Okay.
your status has changed.
I accept.
No, it has not. Jim Watts goes, not
I know, I
here.
was wondering about that,
Yeah.
but I
And
was.
so your status has not changed.
There was something about 7.
I get hard past,
Oh,
you know,
Yeah.
five.
I'm guessing.
There's 6 here, there's 6 in the room, so
So
And
you're still in,
we
Excellent.
need 4.
but we'll recognize it, and for the minutes that she's
a voting member.
she's a voting member. All right.
So was that lot size, was that discussion we just had, we popped down to lot
Yes.
size soil
Yep.
testing? method?
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't look at the agenda.
That's
Yeah.
all right. It's out of the way.
Someone
Or
stole
it's
my
done.
copy.
Yep.
So we still need to go back up to short-term rental and. sign
Yes, I would
ordinance?
like to get back on the agenda, please. That one would be short-term rentals. We just changed the order a little bit, that's okay. The ending of the grace period. I know this came up last time we talked about it, and we'd like to change the application for short-term rentals to get rid of any conversation about grandfathered properties having the ability for avoiding the 30-day limit. Because it should have, the people who were doing it previously already should have applied like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's modifying 4.4.5.
So I imagine we can take a stab at making a change for it. But I imagine also that we'd probably have to have Jason look at it. And see,
Yeah, wouldn't it just be removing the last sentence?
what do you think?
That would be the simplest way to do it.
We wouldn't want to do it that way.
Right? I mean, it doesn't apply anymore.
In theory, it doesn't apply. I mean, we still have people marching in and making claims, and I'm just wondering if we've just kind of been just lenient on that to the point where we haven't asked for proof of rental.
Well, I would say that if they haven't applied at this point, that we sunset that provision.
I'm fine with that,
But we have, that's what we're talking about, but until we put it in writing.
because Jason Dennis said,
What,
we really need to
I have a
remove that.
suggestion.
Yes, sir.
And that would be, the last sentence says that, if you're in existence, you're exempt from this restriction, then you could just say, as of March, whatever, 2026, the exemption, they are no longer exempt.
It would be the town meeting.
So that would be voted at town meeting.
Right.
That's
Um,
pretty straightforward. There is no more exemption.
Well, wait, you have to word it so that those who already have
Right.
the what are we trying to do? There's
People that don't have,
have the,
you're right. People that have not come forward to get a conditional use permit, but were renting before March 20th, they were exempt from the 30-day rental. What we're saying is we want to remove that exemption, that if they come to us today, we are going to consider them as a new application or a new rental, which would make them limited to the 30 rentals. That's basically what we're going to do.
So, new applications will not be considered as exempt for any purpose or reason.
yeah, okay, any applications after, well, March,
No, actually,
2026.
if we vote on it, no,
I don't think so. I know that came up, what both of you guys were talking about, there was a gentleman in here from last year when we were talking about site disturbance. He quoted something that he had read somewhere that we could do that. But I think you talked to Jane, our attorney, or we didn't get confirmation that we actually can do that. We can
Something
implement a
makes it
rule up until town meeting.
According, when we talked, I can't remember when it was, maybe it was with you, Bob, we talked to our attorney, maybe about the short-term rental. It seemed like there's some things that can take effect when the planning board votes it through, and other things that don't fall under that.
This one would seem to me to be one that is just a clarification as opposed to new policy. Because it removes the opportunity for someone who shouldn't be able to, asking for something they shouldn't
they
get.
shouldn't get.
I think that, I mean, my opinion is that we'd want to pass it before our attorney anyhow, before we
Yes,
did anything.
yeah.
I agree.
And it's such a small change that just have him take care of it.
Yeah.
I can't see that that's gonna take him any more time.
But I mean, I just changed it to something like all applications submitted after, and then we have to have some date, will not be exempt from the 30.
I just think our attorney can word it out in a minute and
Yep.
be done with it.
So how about if someone would make a motion to, recommend that the, planning board request, a review of the last sentence of 4.4.5 to sunset the provision for being exempt from the restriction on the number of annual rentals, for wording that would achieve that objective effective immediately.
So moved.
I'll second it.
So moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's good.
Yep.
We'll get that, we'll get feedback from him and, as soon as we get good language, then we'll make it so.
And whether it should be a warrant or.
Right, we need to determine whether or not it's gonna be effective immediately. We can say we want it effective immediately, upon approval.
But does it need to be a town vote?
And does it need to be a town vote? My guess is it needs to be on a town vote.
Yeah, mine is too, and I think there was a differentiation between, like, the zoning ordinance was something that could take effect with the vote of the planning board, but, not necessarily other ordinances, like fireworks ordinances or camping ordinances, for whatever reason, but it was the zoning ordinance, which is not a short-term rental.
Like land use.
Yeah, that could be in effect prior to,
Well, it'd be good to find out anyhow,
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
general purposes.
Right.
And then the question really is it just a clarification? Because, I mean, legitimately, no one should be asking at this point.
well, I think people are reading
Right.
that and saying,
Oh,
we did
yeah.
that, didn't we? Therefore, we're exempt, right? And it's,
Well, it's
you know,
not there.
moving that.
It's legit. Doesn't say you can't still do it.
Right.
We never told them that you
Right.
had 90 days. I mean, this would have been changed if we had written there, you have 180 days
Right.
from this implementation to qualify for the exemption.
All right,
That
so,
would have ended that discussion.
all right, so I think,
Missed it.
I think we can move forward with putting together, I can do this, Sarah, you wanna do this, David, you wanna do this?
Well, I can draft a sentence. I mean,
You wanna give it,
Yeah, David, draft a sentence and run it by the rest of us.
yeah, I'll just run it by you, Sarah.
all right? All right, why don't you two kind of work together, run it by me, then I'll get it over to Jason. And do I need to ask for approval by the select board to contact Jason on this? Or can I get a blanket approval to review?
I would suggest letting Julie know for the next agenda as an FYI that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I would like to, for, rather than going for each individual item, have approval to review any changes we would like to make to the zoning ordinance for recommendation for town meeting to be reviewed by town council.
I would suggest, yeah, put that language towards Julie to put on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, otherwise,
Yeah.
I want to follow your rules and make sure we're asking for permission, but I think this is a standard
Yeah,
thing that we need to do.
And they're,
for good reason.
and they're select.
Well, it's to stop redundancy. We don't want you going to the lawyer, him going to the lawyer, me going to the lawyer. One person gets the answer.
But not-
And that's why if Julie knows, she can say, oh, that's been discussed. Well,
Just FYI, their meeting is Monday.
I think I can ask tomorrow.
No, I'm just saying,
It's usually Tuesday,
It's usually
but it's
Tuesday.
Monday.
Yeah, so I don't know when she does the agenda, send it out.
But she can change the agenda regardless.
Yeah.
She has big power.
We can add something like, it shouldn't be
I'll
a
ask
problem.
tomorrow. How's that?
Okay, just want to make sure.
All right, signage ordinance.
This is probably a bigger discussion. I don't know if anybody read what he sent out earlier today. I read it a few times. I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, what are the changes that?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, bottom line, we have some elements in our signage ordinance that are predate the state signage adjustments that were made in 2003. Our last date on these things are 1997, I think, if I'm remembering my.
26.
Okay, so prior to 2003, a whole new set was put together in 2003. A private, it started out, but there was a letter from the state identifying what the requirements were for signage for Nordic and cross Nordic and alpine skiing specifically, what was going to be allowed, not allowed, size, what was the requirement. Our requirements suggest that it has to go through the planning board, and the state says, I guess we could still allow that because we're allowed administrative requirements. But it would have to be approved by the state, and there's a whole state process for that, including a wonderful application form that you have to fill out. There's a whole process around that. There's a $250 submission fee. And then the question is whether or not we actually should continue to have in our zoning ordinance that the local board is also in that process. Or whether or not we should give over to the state the entire review.
Right, but they do allow for this, the planning board and the select.
Yes,
board.
they didn't say you can't.
Right, so that's, but the issue that I kept reading and the issue that we've recently had in our town deals with temporary signage. And a lot of this references permanent signage.
That's because there are temporary sign allowances, but they are not allowed off-site,
Okay, I'll have to read it again because I didn't see that in there.
not for directional.
Right,
You can do political signs.
correct, but I'm saying directional.
Specifically, directional signs for Nordic and alpine skiing have a very set requirement, and it does not allow for temporary signs.
That's the
Period.
way I read
End
it.
of story, not allowed.
Okay.
Well, there isn't any distinction in the ordinance between permanent and temporary, is there?
Not in ours,
No,
but
not
in
in
the
ours,
states, they,
Oh, you're talking about the state uses those
this new word
words.
they talk about.
Oh,
Yeah, and there's no difference between our ordinance and the state ordinance relative to their temporary, they don't have temporary sign distinctions for that subsection of sign type.
Yeah, they define it in their definition of what a temporary sign is, but they make no reference to it differently. So all the approval process is exactly the same, and considering that Main Street is a state road, the state really controls the signs that go on that street. And they make it, that's very clear in their ordinance that, and I think we make it clear, but it's very clear in theirs, that they control the signs on all state roads.
But we also have size requirements that are
Does that make
different
sense, Bob?
from.
It does make sense, and I'm wondering then if therefore that piece of the state signage ordinance ought to be recognized not necessarily in the zoning ordinance, but as a separate list of ordinances under, like, our ordinance are all under Town of Jackson ordinances, regulations, and restrictions, building code, blah, 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 on the website. So maybe there should be a separate link for state signage ordinance with a separately, with that document separately listed within that list of links. Because our zoning ordinance, I don't know, I don't say that because I could be wrong, but I mean, it's really a local zoning ordinance. So there's not really, so why would we want to paste in a state sign ordinance into our zoning ordinance? Why wouldn't we rather just have that exist separately and distinct?
Because someone may want to erect a sign on Wilson Road.
Wilson Road's not a state road.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That doesn't apply, the state requirement does not apply to town roads.
Right.
But our sign ordinance does.
Yes, it does.
So, and that's already
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
But the distinction then is, if I want to erect a sign on a state road, then I would have access through a separate document or link
Right.
of just what that ordinance requires.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we don't recognize the state requirement at all, and the reason the state requirement's up there is almost, I think, the same reason that this is here in the first place, is that apparently folks were kind of putting signs wherever the heck they wanted to, and in all kinds of sizes, and they said, maybe not.
So is our size requirement more or less stringent than the state?
Let's see,
I think ours was 32 square feet.
64 square feet according to this.
Well, that's both sides of the sheet of plywood.
Yeah, well, I. not
32 square feet on each side, so.
I think that's what we came to, that it could be a two-sided sign, but no more than 32 square feet on either side.
The only distinction, yeah, on premise and off premise.
So what, do we need to make changes according to the state's laws? Or are we looking at changes that we should consider for our own purposes?
Well, that's the question. Do we want to just emulate what's in the state?
Well, I guess my first question, there are some things like the parking that we have to change our zoning, correct?
Right.
Are we in a situation here where we have to make adjustments to our zoning?
That's a good question.
That's
It doesn't
question
seem
one.
like there is, but
And then we're running into some local sign issues. Is there something we should be looking at doing to
for the
curb
local side.
the problems that we're having at the moment?
Yeah, to your point, Bob, do we just reference the state
Yeah,
rules and say, if you want to put a sign on one of our state roads, go here? Just not
Yeah.
ours.
upload verbatim what their sign ordinance is.
It's 7
Because we
pages.
recognize we have state property, which includes setbacks and,
Are we able to police state property in terms of signs?
Well, I don't know about police, but if someone wants to put up a sign, whether it's an on-premise sign or an off-premise sign on state property, then they would have access to the requirements to go about that.
Right, but so someone does that not in line.
The answer to your
Yeah, who's
question.
the approving body?
The answer to your question, there isn't, it's right in the RSA. It says very specifically that the DOT will be responsible.
There you go.
Right, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna do anything.
Yes, it does. It says they will remove the sign, they will give you 5 days to take it down, or some sort of such thing. There's some requirement And for some items, they will remove it without asking.
If they decide to do that, I'm not sure.
There's nothing, I mean, other
We
than that.
can't count on the state doing anything. They may just say, we'll get to it.
That's true.
And we may have a situation where we want quicker action than that. So my question is, if someone puts signs up that are not allowed, but they're on state
This-
property, can the town remove those
The,
signs?
the RSA says specifically, if the sign creates a hazard, then it may be removed immediately.
But it has to be shown to create a hazard.
The traffic, like blocking vision, blocking turns.
It means that up until the state actually does something, people can just start throwing up signs on. that
Which
property.
is what happens.
Yeah, which is what they do today.
Except that was town property.
Right.
No, 16B and 16A are both state roads.
They're state roads, but the sign in question was erected on the school property, which is owned by the town.
Actually, it was in the right of way and by the RSA, that's state
That's
patrolled and state
It's a
RSA.
right of way, however, it's my understanding that my house property goes to the middle of Cameron Drive. The state has that right of way in that period to do whatever they choose to, but they don't own that road.
No, but
They don't own the property under the road.
they have all the rights in the world, do whatever the heck they want with that
That's different than
property.
owning.
Pardon?
That's different than owning. They have the right of way. They don't own the property.
Absolutely, but the deal is that, so, and they say that if you own the property, you're allowed to put certain signage.
Right.
And it's by their requirement, they don't care if you own the property or not, you're gonna follow their requirement for that because it's a state regulation.
Understood.
And if it's on somebody else's property, that you put it on somebody else's property, there are two factors that are associated with that. The state has a responsibility associated with that by RSA, and the individual property owner also by RSA has a right to remove that sign.
Yeah, sure. And that's all the more reason to just paste, name it, add it to the list with a link. Anybody interested, I mean, that, we don't have to reinvent anything because there's already an ordinance.
Those words are already there.
Yeah,
Just point them to those
Yeah.
words.
Right, I mean, the only, again,
but that sign in question was not placed on state property. It was placed on town property within the recognized state right-of-way, but it was town property owned by the school district.
without the school's
That's correct.
permission.
And that's why everything under 13.2 in our zoning ordinance applies to that incident.
Actually,
Or
it's
13.3.
13.3 actually.
Yeah, 13.3, because that was off premise. And and 13.1.
Correct.
So, no, I just think, and that can be run by, we had a discussion, updating the sign ordinance, want to make the distinction between local sign ordinance and state sign ordinance. Recommend, take the state sign ordinance, put it in a document format, link in the website, and also have it available for anyone who wants to come to the window.
And that was the issue recently when somebody puts a sign out on 16 on that triangle. The chief had to call the state police.
Yeah,
He could not do anything to that sign on 16.
Right.
and the distinction was that state property.
Correct. No, so,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
couldn't do anything on that because it was state road state property, he had to call the state police to come and have it removed, and they removed it. So the Department of Transportation, I think, has more probably say in the permanent signs that you put up. These temporary signs, I think the state police will just
That makes sense.
deal with it and take it down.
Well, and I have more faith in our police calling the state police
Yeah.
and something happening
Right.
than relying on DOT to get
Yeah.
around to it.
They don't work on weekends.
At that point, the town has done its due diligence by making that sign ordinance, that state sign ordinance information available to those who seek it.
And if there's any penalties, then the state applies them to them.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody sticks up a sign that says yard sale, and they take it down by the time yard sale's over, between 9 and 12, and it's not as big, it's this big, my sense is that no one's gonna get bent out of shape on that.
No. I think it's more when businesses try to take advantage of that
Yeah.
exposure, and then suddenly you have all sorts of businesses. If one business can do it, then why can't every restaurant put up their special days?
Absolutely.
And I would expect, though, that if there was a representative from the police department here, they would say, oh, absolutely, if we see a sign that is creating a hazard or seems to be a danger to the public, we would absolutely remove that sign.
Even if it's a yard sale.
That's right, but I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a yard sale sign.
Jackson.
In theory,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they're within their right to do that, because all signs shall be located so as not to create a hazard or danger to the public.
yeah.
So I don't know if you've been updated by the ZBA last night.
No.
So they ignored that. They reversed the fine. They nullified it. Because that attorney indicated, and that's what I've been trying to look for, we were supposed to give him a 3-day notice to remove it. And it's not in our ordinance, we don't
Not
have
in our
anything about
ordinance.
3 day. And I tried to read the state's law, and that's why I looked at the ski tour, and they have a separate. The state has 2, they have the ski touring, ski, alpine, and Nordic signage, and then they have a regular sign ordinance. And I looked at both of those, so I'm gonna try to follow up with the ZBA to find out where that reference came from, that we were supposed
Because
to.
that would open a huge loophole for, for
These temporary,
Yeah.
that was my concern, because
temporary signs.
I saw nothing
There is nothing.
about a
I've got an
temporary
event
sign.
going on today, I'm just gonna plaster signs everywhere.
There is
Yeah.
nothing in our ordinance that says that. And our ordinance is stricter than the state ordinance, and if our ordinance is stricter than the state ordinance, our ordinance applies.
The ZBA overturned the fine.
That means that they didn't uphold their local ordinance.
That was their decision today.
Is it worth fighting over?
No,
Probably not.
according to Barbara. That's what she's gonna recommend to you guys.
All right. So, yeah, I think we should reference the state ordinance in here and make a change to do so.
That'd be
Do
housekeeping.
you motion or else? Well, we're not changing our.
Yeah.
We're creating something totally separate.
We're just adding words.
No, I got the impression that we're not even, are we
Just
gonna say
a
that
link
now?
to a list of links. on the-
Where it would be in the web, it can be a separate document, state sign ordinance, rather than having it being incorporated into the
Yeah.
local. Yeah,
Because then if they change it,
yeah,
we're not having to change anything.
right.
Right, we can just put to it here and have it on the website.
All right, so
Whatever
do
this
we need to
wording.
vote to make the change? If so, I need a motion to make a change to section 13 to include references to the state ordinance.
So that would be
I'll
13.
second that.
So that would be,
That motion I had,
So
That's
Motion.
different.
Right, second?
State
I thought
ordinance will apply unless the town ordinance is more stringent.
That's kind of the way it is anyway, but.
Right, if we're referencing the state ordinance and it varies from some part of our ordinance, shouldn't we indicate that our ordinance?
I was suggesting we make the state sign ordinance available for anyone who's
Just
looking
more
to
part
put
of an FAQ as opposed to in
off,
or.
yeah,
Right.
premise sign on state property, which we're only defining so far as that one island, rather than changing this ordinance.
All right, what I would really like to do here is I'd like to review our ordinance and compare it to the state ordinance to determine whether or not ours is significantly different, or whether we should adopt the same rules as the state ordinance so that they are similar, and then we could just simply refer to the state ordinance and say, that applies for both
State
state
property.
and local properties.
So between meetings, make the state ordinance available to the planning board, and we review it and then have a discussion at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I did send out the ski tour, the Alpine and Nordic ski touring site ordinance, I sent that out this afternoon to all of you guys. So I'll get a copy of the other full sign ordinance that they have. I'll
Okay.
send that out to you guys.
that makes sense?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
All right.
Withdraw whatever I said.
All right, so we'll agree to review that and put it on agenda for our next meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if we need a planning board
We don't
forum
need that,
update or
no.
not. I think we're all updated.
Yeah, we're all-
We have a short-term rental app,
Yes,
and we didn't talk about the changes that we're gonna need to make for 2026 that, because we did have changes, there are very few that we have to make changes to. One is that we can only require one parking area. We can not limit the ADUs to one bedroom every 250 square feet. It has to be a minimum of 2 people per bedroom unit. We'll have to make a change to,
well, that's November. I'm doing an AI comparison. to
yeah,
all
okay,
the
so,
ordinances.
yeah,
That makes
there are
sense.
things like that,
Yeah.
and,
So what I've gone 3 of them already. And basically what it is, it shows you the current and then all the changes that would be made within that ordinance. So I'm going ordinance by ordinance, so you'll see what changes have to be made. Instead of doing this whole document, I'm just copying out, like, section 13 on signs, compare those two and show those.
And if we're changing ours to match the state requirement, is that a housekeeping? Do we need a vote on that?
I don't know I haven't finished all the changes, so I think once we see the changes.
that would be the kind of thing I think we would put into our bucket to go to Jason
Like the parking?
for review.
Parking is a pretty straightforward change, we
Yep.
just change it from 2 to 1, but is
And,
that a?
yeah, and he needs to tell us warrant, not warrant. And I think we'll have a list of a bunch of these things.
So that's due in November, because we thought, that's for the November meeting. So, but I'll send it out prior, so we can talk about it in November, because if not, if we're gonna have to have, quote, changes, those public hearings are gonna have to be in December, like we did before.
One that your AI will probably not pick up is that we will not have to permit a historical society building in the rural residential district any longer.
Good. I was wondering if they were gonna move it again.
Upstream,
Hey, probably look nicer up there versus the hill it's sitting on. Okay, so I think we all know who the owner of this property is. It's Jen and John.
So do we all have to recuse ourselves?
I don't know what this is.
Jen, J-Town?
Huh?
This is J-Town? It's the owners of J-Town.
Yeah, I know who Jen is, but,
It's her house.
okay.
So she has an ADU above her garage.
Yeah, I saw the thing, yeah.
It's really weird because the tax part is 6
We'd
bedrooms.
have to recuse ourselves for why? Because we know Jen?
It was a
I
joke.
was joking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everybody knows Jen, okay, so.
This is new to them, even though they've had this ADU and they used to do a long-term rental, now they're converting it to a short term. So this is a new one.
Got it.
They've never done this before.
Yeah.
So they are to the 30 rental limit, because it's a new one. It is an ADU, it's a 1-bedroom apartment above a garage. Septic is fine because they've had this ADU for years, so everything fits with it. They do have a meal and tax, and their advertisement was appropriate.
I make a motion that we accept.
I second.
Recommend without comment.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Good. I didn't hear your head nod. If it was mine, you would. You'd hear a click, click. All right. I think there's a motion to have a motion.
The motion is in motion.
The motion is a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 What's the date of the next meeting?
October 9th,
October 9, it's the same as our forum meeting.
and I see 8/16. Thanks, Sarah. I'll send that to you probably Monday.
Okay,
Okay.
And same time on the
5:30.
5:30.
5:30.
30.
Throw that in, I was
Senior
senior.
big will show up at 5.
Good night, everybody.
Luckily,
Good night,
that's
Scott.
so.
Luckily you were here.
You guys are
They both, they
punctual.
they
Thanks,
showed up
Scott.
and I'm like, what? I'm setting this place up. So Bob, I start my class on Saturday.
Still up? Are you doing a month all at once?
Yep. A month. Oh, they're gonna retire, what else are they?
Yeah. I'm envious. But that's great.
Take a look inside. Yeah, the only time they have Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving off. Otherwise, I think the first week of December, because of those 2 days off, they go to 2 additional days.
Well, that's great.
No, pizza boxes go in trash.
Trash, these boxes are trash.
Good night, Joe.
Thank you for picking up.
Thank you.
Good night, James.
All right. A long day.
I only had 4 things going today, which is unusual. We have more than one.
Tell me about it. I told Barb, this is like a first day of work.
It's almost like a work day.
Yeah.
I know. For you guys who are working, it's like, yeah.
I look at it this way. I've been working since I was 14, so I'm fine with not looking at work.
No guilt there.
Not guilt at all.
When I hit the MRI,